how can a state or the nation sort of think about and, an information architecture that would, both inform people who are making investments for their own lives in the sector, but also inform policy. What are your thoughts on that, or, some promising activities or big questions that you see on the data infrastructure side?
So the good news is actually it's less expensive than you think. The approach is probably also different than you think. So in all things workforce, it always starts with what is the labor market need. And when we were trying to encourage the community colleges back when I was with the California community colleges to do more programming, that could help students land into the labor market. What they said was, we would be interested in doing that, but we don't have the capacity to analyze the labor market. So what we did was, instead of issuing grants to each single college, which was a lot of work for them, we actually invested in a center of excellence on labor market for each of the regions of California. California has a lot of economic regions because of the size of the state. And then what we discovered was over time, there would be braiding of these resources with other resources. So there were 4-year systems with 2-year system with the Economic Development Corporation or the Workforce Board. They would then split up who would do the work, and together they would look at the region and what were the needs, what the occupations were based on different level of training. So that was very interesting. All the tools to be able to look at labor market need is out there. So it's more of a, how do you braid efforts so that not every, you don't have to do it all from scratch or do it all yourself, especially if you're the single institution in town. But the broader thing is that for those of you who are in public policy positions, it's not just about more money, because I've also seen a lot of money flow through public education system, for example, that at the end of 4 years, there's not much to talk about. I mean, there were programs that flowed into the K-12 system for about $750 million for pathways. And because all of it was housed on all of these spreadsheets, it just didn't work. So what you have to think about is, how do you have the monies and the metrics and the data systems align? When the monies, the metrics, and the data systems align, then you actually begin to do systems work, and the institutions, you're putting wind behind the institutions rather than having a lot of obstacles. So, so we first started with money because, again, when you have an unfunded policy, then it's not very interesting to anybody. So colleges are not interesting. And then secondly, they say, well, you're not measuring the right things. And so we actually had to have task force and took up effort in order to redo our metrics to reflect what should be measured in the world of workforce. And it's, for example, it includes employment outcomes, whether there were wage gains. And then lastly, it's data. This is a tool for continuous improvement. So as a result, the system rolled out a salary surfer, which every single program, whether a certificate or degree, every single program, every single college, and every single region in the whole state, you knew what students made 2 years before they came in, and 2 years and 5 years after. And so you could actually compare programs again to each other. So if we have like 68 nursing programs, you can look up the workforce outcome for a fellow nursing program and say, hey, why is it their students on average are doing better, and then call that college. Because I've also discovered that in higher education, colleges learn better from each other. So then the tool actually facilitates the colleges finding out best practices from their peers. And that's one way for continuous improvement.